So we're going to talk in this video about, or I'm going to talk in this video about assumptions. As we're beginning now early in the semester, I want to simply remind you of something that you already know, but that we all need to be reminded of from time to time, and that is that assumptions are very powerful in our lives, and we all have them. You have certain assumptions, I have certain assumptions. All the authors that you read this semester will have certain assumptions, and I want to be sure that you are aware of those. You might not always be able to discern them, but many times you will be able to, and just know that each author has certain assumptions. And these assumptions strongly influence what they're writing. For example, Christopher Wright has a clear assumption that you, as a Jesus follower, you cannot understand what your mission is until you understand something related to the mission of God, and it begins in the Old Testament. And so without the if we shortchange the Old Testament, one of Christopher Wright's assumptions is that we also shortchange our understanding of what God's mission is and what the mission of God's people is. And so as a Jesus follower, he would say, you've got to know the Old Testament. Not only know it, but understand it and understand its relationship to the New Testament and to who God is and what God's up to. Similarly, then, Christopher Wright would say you can't really understand any New Testament passage unless you understand whatever relationship it may or may not have to the Old Testament. One of my assumptions that's clear in my book and in my thinking is that I believe God's original intention in creation was that humanity and all of creation and God would experience a vibrant, organic, healthy, whole relationship with one another, God with people, people with God, people with creation, creation with God, and that this was to be something that was vibrant and abundant and joyful and great and good. God pronounced it very, very good. That's in Genesis 1:31. So that's one of my clear assumptions as it relates to, well, how might we go about evangelism? Well, we might share with folks that in Jesus you can have a much fuller life than you're currently experiencing. So that's one of my clear assumptions. I'd like to illustrate assumptions for you in a very simple kind of daily life way. Please forgive the possible crudity of this example, but it's a real clear example, and it's one that can easily happen and probably has happened. We're going to talk about plumbing. In Latin America, and almost all countries in Latin America, the assumption is made that plumbing will not hold toilet paper. And this is a correct assumption. Most pipes in plumbing in Latin America were installed decades ago, and the pipes were too, thin's not the right word, narrow, were too narrow based on what we would think a pipe should be in the United States. And so these narrow pipes will not hold toilet paper. And if you put toilet paper in a toilet in much of Latin America and flush it, the toilet's going to back up. And so Latin Americans don't put toilet paper in the toilet. They put it in a waste basket that they set beside the toilet. So a Christian from some country in Latin America moves to the United States and begins to participate in a church's ministry. And one day they need to go to the bathroom, and so they go into the stall and sit down and begin to take care of their needs. And they use the toilet paper, and then they're ready to discard the toilet paper. And they look around, and they don't see a wastebasket anywhere in the toilet stall. And their assumption is, I cannot put this toilet paper in the toilet because the toilet will back up. And then there will be a mess in here, and these folks will be mad at me. And so this person has no choice but to put the toilet paper on the floor. And so that's what this person does. They put the toilet paper on the floor because you cannot put it in the toilet. That's their assumption, because plumbing is not adequate to take care of it. So they get finished with their business. They walk out of the bathroom, and a person who was reared in the United States comes in the bathroom following them, needs to use the same toilet stall, walks into the toilet stall, and sees soiled toilet paper all over the floor. And they're thinking to themselves, that person must have done this. What a nasty individual. And the Latino person walked out thinking, man, what nasty people these folks are in the United States. They don't even put waste baskets in the toilet stall so you can discard of your toilet paper. So both of these people love Jesus, and they're both thinking poorly about one another because they have a completely different set of assumptions about whether or not plumbing can hold toilet paper. Assumptions matter. So pay attention to the assumptions of the authors this semester. Pay attention to your own assumptions as you make discussion posts and read the discussion posts of others. And try to discern the assumptions that some of your colleagues are making in their discussion posts. And just know that we must be aware of assumptions. They are strong influencers. They are strong filters through which we filter everything in our world. So all for now. Thanks. God bless.